Here's an example of what I mean to overplay the guitar in a purely acoustic setting so that you can really hear the guitar bring out and not bring out the best of your dynamic level. I'm going to use D as an example, just the beginning of it, so that you can see where I'm coming from here. So if I just play with middle of the road technique, nothing special, but just my standard technique, I would play D like this. Okay, so I'm going to play around with that level now, that level of dynamic, and play louder, softer, more intense, less intense, and try to show you an example of each of those ways of playing. So if I try to play softer, I'm going to play softer but still as intense. So I'm still going to have just as much excitement in my playing, it just won't be as loud. That's ultimately the goal, where you want to be on the electric too. Softer playing, but just as intense. So that would be like this. Now if I play soft, but gently and timidly, that's where a lot of folks are coming from with the word soft. They think that soft means to play weak, and it doesn't. But if you did it, it would sound like this. Almost like you're afraid to play, you're afraid to dig in. You can still dig in, but you control it. It's very controlled. So here again is soft, but intense. Then on the other side, you've got loud. And loud is way, way often misunderstood, because you've got loud in the projection of what you're playing, and loud as in your physical movements. And what you want to try to do with guitar, especially acoustic, is if you're playing loud, figure out how to not overdo it. You get to a point where you play middle of the road, you know, your default style here, you can go loud and play about here, but then if you try to play up here, there is no such thing as up here. You get more intensity, but it's actually softer. So let me show you what I mean. Here again is middle of the road, just good default mid-range playing position here. Now what I want to do is increase the volume of it, but not so much the intensity. I just need to project a little bit more. So what that's going to mean is to dig into the sound a little bit, but still be very aware of where the limit of the guitar is. The guitar's going to have a limit where if you're thwacking around too hard, it's going to hit the frets. So here's what I'm doing, but just louder, hopefully without hitting the critical mass where the sound doesn't do as well. So this is louder. So that was loud, but still under control. I'm still going for a good tone. Now here's what I'm just gonna, mentally I'm gonna tell myself, oh my God, I'm not playing loud enough yet. I have to fill up more space. So I'm gonna start really digging in. And this is where a lot of rock guys make the mistake of trying to play too loud. They're putting too much into their sound, and it's gonna slow them down, it's gonna sound clunky. You're gonna overplay the guitar, and that's what this sounds like here. So not only was it clunkier, but it screwed me up because I don't ever play like that. So I wasn't used to the reaction of it. Let me try it one more time. So that was really giving it everything I've got, thinking that it was volume-wise, but it really wasn't. It was more giving it everything I've got intensity-wise, but not listening to the guitar, not realizing that the guitar doesn't want to play that loud. And when I'm thinking that I'm playing that loud and I'm trying to push it that loud, I'm not getting anywhere. So the same is true with an electric guitar. If you are playing too intense, then the sound that you're going to get is clunky, it's sloppy sounding, and it's just not as nice. The trick to playing fast, and it's acoustic or electric, the trick to playing fast is to play light. So not gently, not wimpy, but light, still intense, kind of like what I was doing here. You can still hear everything. Everything's still precise. But I'm not playing loud. This is loud but controlled. This is loud but uncontrolled. Yeah, I can't even do it. It's not worth doing. But with the rock guys playing, you watch all these great players on stage, and they're making these faces like they're in complete pain. Or they're really mad, and they're just about ready to smash their guitars because they're so intense. So the mindset is, when you're looking at somebody like this play, you think, wow, look how intensely that guy's playing. And when you want to try that same thing, you pick up your guitar pick and you just start digging really hard into the strings, wondering why it doesn't sound real good. The secret is, and I'm sure across the board that this is true, for all the guys that are playing really fast stuff, whether it's rhythm guitar, playing the chunk chords, or playing the leads, playing really fast leads, but they look really intense, the heavier they sound, the more intense they look, the lighter they're playing. Because you have to. It's an act. You have to get your face so that you're like this while you have a feather-light touch with both hands. And that's really the trick. Because if you're playing too heavy, you can't get a good sound out of your amp. You can't get a clean sound, and you can't go that fast. The trick to playing fast is to play light. And the way to play light is to play softly. And to play softly, you still have to be accurate, but you have to maintain the intensity. So let's take the solo to Revelation Mother Earth. And again, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will show you examples of each, overplaying it, underplaying it, and what the sounds are going to be. So, live when you're playing this, you might be tempted to, really, and just go for it. The sound of that, if I play like I'm looking like this. click-clack all over the place. I'm missing things left and right that I should be playing because I'm squeezing too hard. Everything that I'm doing, I'm squeezing too hard, and it's making it harder for me to relax and release to get to the next note. So here, I'm not going to make the face. I'm just going to play with where it ought to be played. So it'll be here. Now, let me play that for you without the amp. You will hear a difference even though I've got no amplifier. So here's the first play, just overdoing it. And you can't hear how awful it is. Okay, now here's if I play what I would consider properly. Much, much lighter, much more under control, but just as intense. So I would play it like this, and this is the way that I just played it with the amp on. What I'm doing is I'm letting the amp distortion be the intensity for me, and the amp is my volume. I'm not going to try to overplay, because when you're picking dynamics change, when you're picking from soft to loud, there's not that much difference out of the amp. If I go to pick a scale softly, this is a soft scale, and then I play it loud, soft, loud. There's a difference in the way that those two different ways of playing sound, but it's not quite as big a gap between soft and loud as much as it is between controlled and smooth and choppy. When you play really, really loud, really hard, you make everything choppy. So when I meet with students, that's one of the first things that I listen for is, can I lighten it up at all? Because that's the easiest way to improve your playing, to get it to the next level. And I want to prove to you that you can play softer. Just play one note. Play 5th fret, 3rd string G. Let's play that note. And without really thinking about it, that's hopefully your normal playing intensity, how hard you normally push down. Now, see how little you can actually push down. Get it to the point where it just mutes. So release your finger gradually as you're still picking to go from the actual note to just not quite hard enough. Right there. So that's where I want to be. And then if you just push just a little tiny bit more, you're over the line to get the note. There, I got the note. Now, is that lighter than you usually play? Probably is. Because if you're used to playing heavier than that, you've got dings in all of your frets because you're pushing down too hard, that's going to be a much more relaxed way to play. You don't have to push down that hard on any of your fingers. And if you get your fingers coordinated enough to move nice and quick, then you'll never play heavy, you'll never play loud, because the guitar will play itself. Your fingers will be coordinated enough to let the guitar do the work. The amp is going to push out the volume. And that's really what you want to try to do, is get your fingers to not push down too hard. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, where I come from as far as evaluating a student right off the bat and trying to give them some pointers on how they can play a little bit better. most of the time, those two factors are one of the problem, if not both of the problem. Left hand, it's just pushing down too hard and making everything too clunky. Right hand, it's picking too much. It's getting too intense and thinking, well, if I'm going to be playing hard rock, if I'm going to be playing heavy metal, I got to really, really dig in. And that's not at all the answer. You got to play as light as possible with both hands and go for the cleanest sound you can get, the most accurate, precise playing technique, and let the amp do all the work. That's what the pedals are for. That's what the distortion is for. If you can play it clean, it won't sound great, but it'll sound. And then the amp and the distortion and the effects are just there to shape what the tone that comes out. But you have to be able to do it first in your fingers. So that's the challenge that I want to put forth to you for today. And if you want to connect with me on Facebook and do a lesson or two by Skype, that would be awesome. I would love to do that. I'd love to work with you. You can reach out to me through my Facebook link here. I check it a couple times a day, and we'll get you to where you want to be in no time at all. All right. Thanks so much for watching today. Thanks for joining me, and keep playing. Good luck to you. Okay.